So anyone who's seen a few of my videos already knows this, but I'm such a sucker for the Korg Volca Sample. So I've got the Mark I as a Christmas present back in 2015, and 5 or 6 years later I bought myself a Mark II. And I can just hear some of you say, what? Why? Why did you buy the Mark II? That's basically just a Mark I with a USB socket built in, right? And that's just wrong. The Mark II has many features that truly turn this machine from a glorified toy into something actually capable of making legit full songs. And I don't blame you for not realizing how big of a jump it was from the Mark I to the Mark II, because it's not like Korg did a great job at explaining it, or marketing it, or even saying anybody about it. I should ask for percentage of sales by now.
Where's my 10% Korg?
Anyway, this is not a Mark I versus Mark II comparison type video, although I might do that in the future. Let me just say that there is one big feature that was a complete game changer for me, and that's step automation. Now let me grab my Korg Volca Sample and let me show you why this single feature is so important when trying to create full songs with just one groove box.
Let's start with the basic rhythm. Let's find a kick sound. Cool, I like this. Let's find a snare. I like this one. Next, let's find a hi-hat sound. I put the kick and the snare in banks 1 and 2, but I'm going to put the hi-hats in banks 9 and 10. Why? Well, because 9 and 10 are in a choke group. That means that when 9 is playing, 10 gets muted and vice versa. So we say that they choke each other out. And that's very useful for hi-hats. Cool, so now that we've come to this point, I'm going to give you the first example of putting the parameter lock feature to good use in the Volca Sample 2. And in this case, I'm going to automate the level parameter and I'm going to turn it down to a value of 35 for every other step. And hopefully you can hear the difference. That's cool, right? Let me just add some kicks and I'm gonna use the same trick on some of those notes. Okay, so right now I really want to find some chords. I very much like this sound, but one additional thing I'm going to do here is to turn the amp section's attack parameter up. And as you can hear, that gives you that cool queasy sidechain type sound. It is basically a fake sidechain. There is no compressor on the Volca, but you can fake a sidechain with this trick. And make sure that you place the chords notes in the same positions as the kicks, so to get the most out of this effect. So we have a few sounds now. 5, 7 or 6 are not taken yet, but I'm planning to take 7 for bass, 6 for melody, and 5 for a tom sound. Now I think I have most of the sounds that I need, and the first thing that I need to do is to save this, because I haven't saved this in a while, so yeah. And the mindset that you have to get into with the Volca sample is that save states are very important for saving not only the notes that you input, but the selection of the sounds that you chose as well. That's why I chose to fill up all the 10 slots straight away, because now every time I paste this button in slots 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., I will have that sound selection always handy. Otherwise, I would have had to reselect every sound each time, and that leads to inconsistencies in your patterns, as well as being, a pain. Now, I'm still undecided about this sound, but let's start with the bass first. And the way I like to write bass parts is I like to think about the rhythm and only the rhythm at first, and then once that's done, I use the function plus speed automation to change all the pitches I want to change in each particular note. And that's really where the power of parameter lock shines in the Volca Sample 2, which is a huge difference from the Volca Sample 1, which didn't have any of this. I mean, you could record automation, but step automation was not an option. So when you pitch down a sample, it gets longer. So what I like to do now is to shorten this particular note. And next I'm gonna step automate the low pass filter. I'm very happy with the way this sounds, so let me solo it for you. And now we're ready to move on and copy this button into slot number 2. I've decided to skip the melody for now, because since I don't have a full chord progression right now, it's going to be quite hard to write a melody that makes sense on its own. And I don't even know if it's going to be a 2-bar pattern or a 4-bar pattern yet, so let me figure that out first by playing around with the pitch of the chord that I've used, and once that's done, we can move on. I think I found a nice chord change. But we also need to change the bass now. Let me pitch it down to -5, since that's what I did to the pad as well. Okay, so after playing around for a while, I found out that this is not meant to be a 2-bar pattern, so not a 4-bar pattern, this is an 8-bar pattern. I'm gonna occupy 4 slots and they're gonna alternate with each other basically. This is a bit wishy-washy, explain it like this, but I'm gonna play it once and you'll see what I mean. But first, I'm gonna select slot 2 and I'm gonna copy it here to move it out of the way. I'm going to select slot 1 and copy it over slot 2, and here in what is now slot 2, I'm going to remove the very first bass note. I know this is a very simple variation, but even a very subtle difference goes a long way in terms of movement and song direction. And just like slots 1 and 2, we're going to copy slot 3 into 4. Cool, so this is the final structure of the pattern. And that's it. This is not the final busiest part of the song, if that makes sense. For that, I'm gonna have to take these 4 patterns and move them over here towards the end. And I'm gonna punch in some more hi-hat action. That sounds pretty nice. That's the final part of the song, if that makes sense. The problem now is that we have to repeat whatever I just did to the hi-hats in pattern 14, 15, 16, as well as pattern 13, which I just did. So we'll do just that. So what we have now is the final fullest part of the song, which is going to live in this final 4 slots and sound something like this. And we need to find a melody line that makes sense with the whole structure of the loop as we know it to be now. I like to approach this in the same way I did the bass. Rhythm first and pitch later. Now, I must admit I don't have anything particular in mind for this, so you're probably gonna watch a highly condensed version of me playing around with rhythm, pitches, sounds and parameter lock for an hour or so. So after writing the melody line, I changed the actual sound using the sample knob. It's super cool that you can do that even after automation, as sometimes happy accidents happen, and when they do, it is a lot of fun.
So I'm gonna stop this video for a second now because I have a big announcement to make. If you've liked all the samples I've used up until now in this video, well, you're in luck, my friends. All of these samples are now in a big pack called Big Umami Bombs Volume 1, and you can find it on my website, bigumami.com. I've had many people asking for sample packs, especially for the Volca sample, especially in this video where I play a full set entirely on the Korg Volca sample. Unfortunately though, in that set I actually used a mix of samples. Some were mine, some were from, Splice, so I couldn't really give away that pack because those are not my samples to give. Well, these ones are, so you can go and check them out on bigumami.com, buy them, use them, have fun with them. I'll put a link in the description box below.
Okay, so I've done a lot of mixing off camera as well as arranging patterns around. I spared you from all of that because that stuff is super boring, but let's break down all of the sections in this song now. I have the intro in 1 and 2. I have an additional secondary intro in 3 and 4. Then I have a breakdown section from 5 to 8, and this is where you'll see me turning the reverb up to try and create a build-up. So let's say a breakdown plus build-up section. Then I have a main section from 9 to 12 and a final section from 13 to 16. Now, why do I have two 2-bar patterns in the beginning and 3 4-bar patterns later on? As I said, this is a 8-bar loop, but when the bass comes in, that's what's been alternated in a B, A, B, C, D, C, D fashion. When the bass is muted, that differentiation is not relevant, and that's why I can condense the intro loop to just 2 slots. I hope that makes sense, but it probably doesn't, so I'm gonna go for a show and tell right now. So what does A, B, C, D, C, D mean? Let's take the final section of the song. You have A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D. And that's it. Now, would have I preferred to have come up with a 2-bar loop? Yes, of course, because that would have meant having 16 divided by 2 means 8 sections instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections I have now. Only 5 sections is not nothing, but it's kind of the least amount of sections to have in order to make a full song. But, you know, sounds and patterns and ideas have their own special way to unfold themselves to you, and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. That doesn't mean you can't come up with a 2-bar loop in your own creation and having a good 8 section to work with. Hell, if you're happy with even just 1 bar, you'll end up with 16 sections available. That's actually how I made that video about playing a full set on the Volca Sample too, so go check that out if you want. And anyway, in terms of arranging songs, I never ever arrange or finalize songs directly on the machines I work on. I basically export all the stems to my computer, and you know, you can have infinite sections there. You can have multiple drops, different A-B sections, you can do pretty much whatever you want in a DAW. But I'm not gonna do that in this particular video. I might do it in some of my next videos if you guys want. If you are interested, let me know in the comment box below. Anyway, without further ado, let's play this tune.
So that's it. Thank you guys for checking my creative process out, and hopefully this video was quite helpful for you to, get a few tips on the Korg Volca Sample too. Also remember that you can support me by buying me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com/bigumami. I've already told you about my website, so bloody blah. Okay, I leave you with more Volca related stuff on the screen right now, and I just, silently, creepily stare at you until you click on one of them. No pressure.